Bonjour, I hope you're well and I hope your family is too. So before I proceed with today's lesson, um, let me just say, the same as always, that I'm totally free to answer any and all questions that you may have about this particular subject with GCSE French or about GCSE French more widely, okay? So in going forward with today's GCSE French lesson, this lesson is actually pretty similar to most lessons in terms of the practical work involved, in terms of your listening, reading, translation, and writing, and so forth, and so on, right? So today's no different. So let me just say what this video is going to look like, okay? So past and past continuous in GCSE French pretty much transcends most of the topics that would form part of the typical GCSE French syllabus. You're pretty much going to find them everywhere, whether it's hobbies or technologies or family or future plans and so forth and so on. So today I think we're going to work together and proceed accordingly. So today I think we will ease into the lesson by just opening up a no pressure discussion while using the past tense, just in order to get that information going, right? The information flow going. So that'll take a very short time, and following that we're going to direct our focus, which will go towards more practical content. So that will be translations and analysis of passages and so on, okay? Okay then, so as to item 1 of today's time in this video, the flowing of information with respect to past and past continuous tenses. It'll pretty much be the same as always, where I will ask a few short answers. Now, because this is a one-way video, I will ask you to pause when the prompt below says pause now. So think about your answer, and when you wish to proceed, just unpause the video and we will continue with the lesson with me providing the answer, okay? So let's go. So let's picture the scene, right? You are keeping a diary and you document a day at work. And the first thing you write in your diary is that your train left the station at 8:15 in the morning. That's 8:15 in the morning. How would you say that? Okay, so in the video now you should see the translation of how a train left its station at 8:15 in the morning. That's 8:15 in the morning. So this train journey is unfortunately pretty long, and you've pretty much got to get something that will keep you occupied while you're on the train, so you need to do something. So listening to music is what you usually choose to do. So can you tell me how you would listen to music on your MP3 player? Awesome, so you should see the answer to that just in this video, okay? So eventually you get to work and you meet your boss, Bob. Unfortunately, Bob's not very happy today because he lost both his car and his mobile phone. So how do you say that? So you start your workday and you end it, and your workday went pretty well, so you decide to go to the restaurant with your other work colleagues. And your colleagues happen to be female, they're all women, okay? Unfortunately, they get caught up at work and they end up being late. So if you are writing in your diary that they were late to the restaurant, what would you write? Okay, once again, you should see the solution in this video. Awesome, so last but certainly not least, you decide to crash at your buddy's house for the weekend after you go to the restaurant. So how do you say that? Wonderful, so let us conclude this conversation for now, and now we're going to shift to a more content-focused feature of our lesson today. We will look at the past to begin with, and the past continuous is something that we will consider a little later on, okay? So in terms of the basic past tense more widely, you will most likely already know that at a fundamental level there are three components that make it up. That being the subject, followed by avoir or être, followed by the past participle. Unfortunately, and as you're also quite likely to know at this point, is that it doesn't really stop there, because some past participles don't just get a new ending added and then boom, all is well, you know. Some past participles are unfortunately irregular. So let us just consider a few of these things first of all, in order to measure your scale of comfort with them. I would now like to direct your attention to the YouTube channel where this video is located. If you go to this video on the YouTube channel, if you go to the description of the video, and you will see something entitled link 1. So this link will show you a list of these. As a recommendation, I would personally advise you doing some practice with these, like with avoir being irregular, for instance, in the past tense. Just make up a sentence, something like j'ai eu peur, and so forth and so on. Of course, if you have any questions with any of these, you can always direct them back to me, okay? Okay, so like I said just a minute ago, in terms of the past tense, there are 3 components that make it up. The subject, followed by either avoir or être, followed by the past participle, okay? In terms of the avoir or être choice, unfortunately, être is where a lot of the funny business comes in, by which I mean that the past participle has to agree with what is being said when être is being used. Now here will require your knowledge of the present conjugation of être. Okay, so with that being je suis, tu es, il, elle, on est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils, elles seront. Okay? So at this point in time, it is very important to be familiar with the Mrs. Van der Trump acronym. Okay, so the verbs that make up the Mrs. Van der Trump acronym, I will put them in the YouTube description of this video, okay? Okay, so now that you have located the verbs that make up the Mrs. Van der Trump acronym, please take a couple of minutes and consider if any single one of them or a larger group of them are a bit funny to you, a little bit difficult, okay? I can understand the whole thing with being funny about the Mrs. Van der Trump acronym, because it was always a point of great difficulty for me during my GCSE French studies. My old teacher spent so long with me on the matter, and eventually it settled into my brain. So it's all about committing that time, and eventually that information will enter into your head. It's not just a matter of thinking that you're dumb right away or anything like that, because anyone can achieve anything with focused effort, and yes, it may seem like forever until that effort comes to fruition, but of course it always eventually will. Okay, so that was quite a good focus on the past tense right there. Just a little note about the Mrs. Van der Trump acronym. Let me just summarize it by saying that you will have the first thing, which is the subject, and then the second thing, which is the correct conjugation of être, whether it's suis or some or et and so forth and so on, okay? Followed by the agreement of whatever the relevant past participle is, like je suis monté or je suis allé or vous êtes allé and so forth and so on, okay? So that summarizes that. Just another point real quick about the whole être thing. One thing about it, as you perhaps already know, is that reflexive verbs will always take on être. And of course they'll agree as well. So your je me suis lavé and je me suis cassé la jambe and so forth and so on, okay? So please go to the YouTube description again, and you'll find something entitled link 2, okay? This will be a document that details a list of reflexive verbs, okay? Which I will just allow you to ponder over in your own time, okay? It explains most of the features of reflexive verbs pretty well, with arrows and things highlighted and so forth and so on. And of course, if you have any questions about it, come right back to me, okay, and I'll address them. Okay, so just before we consider some past continuous exercises, let us just wrap up the past tense for today. So let's open up your diary again, and you just recently had your birthday, okay? So firstly, you got a ton of presents. How would you write that in your diary? Okay, so you should see the answer right there on the video, okay? Okay, so in preparation for your party, your female friend, that's very important, female friend, came to visit you that morning. How would you say that? Okay, so you should see the answer. So how would you say that you were happy to see her? Okay, and once again, you should see the translation for that. Okay, so that was a nice little conclusion to the past tense. Okay, wonderful. So let us now consider some past continuous things, okay? So I think we will open up with some past continuous exercises the same way that we did with the past that we did just now. Just to get the juices flowing, you know, like we did last time. We'll stick with the diary format for now. And like I say, this is just a gauge of where you're at in terms of your confidence, okay? So you wake up in the morning and you have to write down that you were both hungry and thirsty at the time. How would you say that? Okay, so you should see the answer right here. So you're with your female friend who was the same and she drank water all day long. So how would you say that? Okay, so you should see the answer right there. So then you watch the TV during dinner time. How would you say that? Okay, and you should see the answer once again on this video right there. Okay, so that was a good quick fire opening to the whole past continuous area. As we said, it was all about increasing the juices flowing, and of course that's not a magic bullet which suddenly means that you'll understand it all. Like I say, it's just a gauge in terms of your confidence. Okay? Okay, wonderful. So we'll proceed with this discussion now, okay? So let us just now summarize the ways in which past continuous is used. So basically there are three ways of deploying it. Number one is descriptions in the past. So if you wanted to say, il portait un manteau bleu, that would be an example of using the past continuous because you're describing something that happened in the past. Number two are past actions which, as the name perhaps suggests, are continuous. So they were ongoing or they were interrupted. So if you were to say something like, j'ai écouté la radio quand, that's a clear example of something, an action that was interrupted. You were listening to the radio when something happened, okay? So the third thing describes actions which were done frequently in the past rather. They were done as a habit, they weren't just done as a one-off or anything like that. So if you were to say something like, elle arrivait au travail, that's something that would be done as a habit. It's something that was done frequently in the past, okay? Of course, as you probably know already, the use of grammar pretty much transcends everything in GCSE French. You'll pretty much see it everywhere, so it's excellent to know the situations in which certain types of grammar will be used, like the past continuous, which we just considered. So descriptions, continuous actions, frequently done actions is where the past continuous tense would apply, okay? So in proceeding, let us just think about how it is formed. Think for a moment of your understanding about how this happens. And with this in mind, let us proceed. Please click link 3 in my YouTube video description for a review of this on the BBC website. I'll just let you have a read real quick. Okay, so after you see these things on the BBC website, those are the basic rules in terms of what past continuous is and how it is used in French. But if there's anything we know about grammar in GCSE French, it's pretty much that where there are rules, there are exceptions, okay? Taking the word être, for instance, which is arguably the most important one to know at GCSE level in French. It follows the same pattern basically of taking the form of nous, or taking the nous form, I should say, chopping the end off and adding another ending. But that's not it, unfortunately, because you have to be remembering a stem also, in this case ET, E having the upwards accent, of course. Please continue looking at link 3 for more information, okay? Anyway, in terms of past continuous exceptions, more widely, there is also something else to say. This is actually a little bit of good news, in that irregular verbs follow the same past continuous formation rules as do regular verbs, of dropping the ONS from the new form at the end and adding the imperfect endings. So I'll just put some examples right here in the video, okay? Wonderful. So what I am about to do for you is paste a website link in the YouTube description under the name link 4. When you open this, it will be a list which will be of the most common irregular present tense verbs whose past continuous forms follow the general rules of forming the past continuous. Don't worry, it's a big list, but it all adds up in the end when you recognize them or they go inside your head. Okay, so this has been a good and relaxed lesson so far, so I think it might be a good idea to close up with some gap filling and translation work, okay? I will post the material right here and I will allow you all to go through it in your own time, while asking you to please direct any questions that you have about the exercises towards me, okay? This information, you will see it on links 5 and 6 in the YouTube description. So what these exercises will do is that they will continue to stimulate your knowledge, and it will of course complement other things that you do in learning this particular aspect of GCSE French. In order to close out today's lesson, we shall work in the same way as we started, so with some English to French translation work in a diary. You should now see a list of English phrases which, in order to test yourself, I invite you to conjugate these. And of course I will offer the solutions in the description to this YouTube video. I just ask that you don't cheat, okay? And of course, like I said before, any questions, please send them forward to me and I look forward to answering them, okay? So for now, I'm going to say take care and see you around, okay? Bye.